a friend of mine's computer.
All right, we're live. So I'm going to go into our opening here, and then we will get into the intros. Hello, welcome to this beautiful Sunday afternoon.
It's dark in here.
It's dark in here, the lights.
Super bright outside, though.
Super bright outside.
And we all have matching walls. Might I add that? Florida walls.
Florida walls. So today we are going to do a Pride celebration episode, the month of June. We have some awesome guests. Our other guest here is joining us, and we bring him up from Boogeyman Studios. So we're going to go around, and everybody is going to introduce themselves. So we have Shelly from Shock Reel Cinema Film Festival. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Pride. Yay. Okay, I'm just extra in general, but I am happy to be here. Thank you, everyone.
So people that might not know, what is Shock Reel Cinema Film Festival?
So at Phantasm Orlando, which is one of the newer horror conventions in Central Florida, or Florida in general, we have, we're the film festival that supports it. So we're for low, no, indie, anything in the horror subgenre. So that could be comedy or social action, anything. And we're looking for any filmmakers that are, or even amateur filmmakers, things that come creative and come out to you, as long as it's within the horror genre. And then we do other fun things related in our festival room at Phantasm Orlando.
Nice. And then we have from Polk Pride, Michelle. How are you?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Like you said, my name is Michelle Valdez. I'm with Polk Pride, and our mission is to bring unity, equality, and understanding through a variety of activities and services that we offer throughout Polk County for people.
Nice. How long has Polk Pride been around?
Polk Pride has been around since 2014.
2014. Nice. And you have a large community that have, I guess, been behind you since the beginning.
Yeah, most definitely. Lakeland is one of them.
Nice. That's awesome. And then also joining us is from Boogeyman Studios, Anthony. How are you?
All right, hanging in there. I got a little distracted. My dog is sick, so I just realized the time. I got a notification, and I says, "Oh my God, I forgot."
Nice.
And so for people that don't know, what is Boogeyman Studios?
Well, Boogeyman Studios, it was private. I think in 2018, I decided to go do public work. I do special effects makeup, custom-made masks, and when a lot of people started doing the rehauls of the Trick or Treat Studios masks after the well, not after, actually before the movie, the 2018 Halloween movie came out, and I saw what was being done. And I saw the ridiculous prices that were being charged for, just repaints of stock masks. And I says, no, this is terrible. So I started offering to the public at an affordable price to do that. And because I don't want to get too much into that, because then it's all politics and people get offended and all of that stuff. But it's really very simple. I feel that I've been doing this for 40 years, but I feel that a screen accurate, decent quality mask should be within the reach of everybody. Everybody, the guy that works in the grocery store, the cashier, whoever it is that makes a little bit of money should be able to buy and have a nice, beautiful mask that they could bring to conventions, have autographed, and it'd be like their little prize piece. So it's what I create is more. They're wearable. Don't get me wrong; they're wearable. But they're more in the art category, because when I design them, I treat the masks as if it was an actual live human being that I'm making up special effects on for a movie. So that's my approach to them. So yeah, that's basically what I do. Some of our original work that I'm starting to introduce now to the public, original creations. Michael Myers and Halloween is like one of our main, hence the name Boogeyman Studios, because that's what's in very high demand more than anything else. I tried in the past introducing other horror characters through. They just want him, so I said, all right, I'll do him, and I'll do some of my own originals, and I'll leave the other horror characters to everybody else to do. You mentioned, yeah. I mean, there's some the younger guys. I can't do it anymore. I'm too old and tired to start making casts and molds. Although I am doing it, but not as heavy. Let the young guys do it. I like to watch the new talent and what they create. I enjoy it. You mentioned, I think it was. Let me put my glasses on. Shelley. That you were talking about the films. I'm currently helping out somebody. I don't know if you heard of the film. It's called The Third Channel.
I have. Oddly
It,
enough, I have.
yeah, it's supposed. Well, she's calling it a unofficial sequel to Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, and it's
I
called.
had no doubt by the title.
Yeah.
I love that movie, so
Uh,
that worked out.
I tell her just call it a sequel. It's a feature, a full length picture that she's working on. It's not like a short fan film. It's but I just call it what it is. It's a sequel to it. You're continuing the story. You're just not attached to the big name studios or whatever the case may be. So I followed. I thought it was a good idea because I follow a lot of these movies and a lot of the independent people, and I watch what they do because I like it. I like to see all this stuff. And if I feel that somebody needs help with something, I'm going to offer them assistance. And I saw her struggling with her campaigns and then with the casts and people were just like bouncing all over. And they didn't have any masks. I said, you know what? Let me reach out to this girl. So I reached out to her and I said, I'll make you the masks for this movie that you're doing. Tell me what you need. I'm not going to charge you anything for it. Just cover some of the costs for the materials. I'll take care of the rest. So I designed for her an updated version of the witch, the skull, and the pumpkin. You might be able to see them on there's a group called the Third Channel. They just recently ended an Indiegogo campaign, and on Boogeyman Studios you'll be able to see it also. You'll have to probably scroll down through 1,000 pictures because as I'm working on things, more photographs go on, and then things go down the list on the page. But that's pretty much it with me. I'm retired, and this is what I do now. So I got masks. I'm getting ready actually for Phantasm. I missed it last year because it had a virus and we didn't want to go there and contaminate everybody. So I'm actually getting ready now for it. I have masks on my dining room table, masks in my living room, masks in the studio, and I'm still yeah, I got sculpts all over the place that I have to cast still. So I want to bring, like I said, I want to bring the rehauled masks. I want to bring our own sculpts and some creations that only exist here because they're not from movies. They're from whatever came from my demented, twisted mind. I was working on. I had some left play, and it had little crumbs and bits and pieces in it, and whatever. So I soaked it down a little bit, and I started molding it. I had a picture from one of the artists. He's also on Facebook. Scott, I think Scott Straka art. He does like a lot of
Yes.
prints. Yeah, I have some of his Myers prints and some other things in that. So I happened to be in the studio and I was messing with the head sculpting, and his evil Ash from Evil Dead print was on the wall. So I started molding the eyes, to get that feature. And then, as I'm doing the chin, I'm saying, maybe I'll do this. I put the forehead in, and all of a sudden I decided to keep that overinflated circle around the eye from the possession. I gave him a Frankenstein skull, and as I was forming the chin, I said, we're going to give this a little bit of Nosferatu also. So this thing has a little bit of Evil Dead in it, a little bit of Frankenstein, and a little bit of Nosferatu, because I decided to point its ears also. It's insects. I don't know what it is. But these are the things that I want to bring to Orlando when I go there. I want to bring some really off-the-wall, strange masks and things. No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm actually stitching some skin together to.
Nice.
I'm stitching some skin together to do. I don't even know if I'm going to consider it Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I might just throw it in the Ed Gein category, because that's basically, it looks more in that category. So I might just go get a cheap lamp and make a shade out of it and bring it there as a prop.
So I'm gonna go around the table here, and I'll start with you, Michelle. What does pride mean to you?
Pride to me means including everyone, equality for everyone, and just unifying people together, no matter what walk of life you come from.
That was right to the point, right there.
Yeah.
What
There's,
about
no, there's
you?
no reason to sugarcoat it. We should all get along.
What about you, Shelley?
I mean, I was just going to add all about love, but yeah, inclusion. I mean, that's really obviously for me. I'm cis, but with that said, I hang out and go to any place, and I want to be included, just like everybody wants to be included.
Hey.
We're all the same, different in certain things, but the thing, we're really all just. I don't know. She said it so delicately. I can't even say anything after that. Nothing goes well after that. Like I was like, damn.
Hey, love wins. That's what the bottom line is.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah.
What about you, Anthony? What does pride mean to you?
Means many things. I'm a straight male, but pride to me means take pride in yourself, who you are, what you are, what you believe, doesn't matter what it is, and other people should respect that and live and let live. Just be happy for each other. I mean, I see all of this condemnation constantly through social media. It's just disgusting. I mean, let me put the glasses back on again. Michelle, you said I'm like you. I don't dance around words, and I don't throw pixie dust on stuff. I tell it like it is. I don't care what you like. It doesn't matter to me what your personal beliefs are, what your orientation is. If you're a decent human being, I treat you like a decent human being. I treat people according to how they are, not what they are. Your soul, your kindness, your generosity, your spirit, not because you believe in this or that, or you have this sexual orientation, this religious belief. None of that matters to me. Shouldn't matter to anybody.
All right.
Exactly. And Michelle, I want to ask you this. Can you give a little brief history on Pride for those that might not know exactly where it started?
Okay, so in 2014, Scott and several other founding members created the executive committee for Polk Pride. And since then, we've been up and running. We've had a Pride event in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 21. We weren't able to due to the whole COVID thing going on. But this year we're up and running, and we got more vendors than ever. So it's going to be a great event downtown Munn Park.
Yeah. What kind of events do you have going on? I know you have something coming up next weekend, I think, at Swan Brewing.
Yeah. So literally all the way up to the 18th, we have events back to back. We have Pride on Tap, which is at Swan Brewing. That's on the 11th. And then we have our youth as well. We involve them. We have Pride for Youth. That's going to be a party on 6/15 for them at the skating rink. We have Pride and Faith in the park. You know, everybody has a belief they want to share. That's on 6/16, and everybody's welcome. And then we have the Pride Kickoff, which is on 6/17 on Friday, which is at the Parrot. And then we have, of course, Pride in the Park on the 18th. And that's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's going to be the showdown that everyone's going to be there.
Yeah, and Pride is huge worldwide. Like I've seen like festivals. I know it's huge here in the United States, but in Europe they throw like big parties, especially in like the Netherlands.
So far, New York has the biggest Pride events. They have over 500-something-thousand people that come every year just to go attend that event, and not to mention the vendors and the participants and everybody that's involved. It's a big collaboration up there.
Yeah. And as I was talking with Shelly before we went live, the whole Pride came out of the riots, right?
Which happened in June in 1969, right?
June 1969. And ever since then, Pride has been a whole celebration, a movement, I guess is the correct term.
Yeah, definitely a movement.
Well, it kind of went hand in hand with the civil rights movement too, right? It was like that equality for all kind of idea.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, if we were marginalizing people, we were doing an injustice and it needed to be righted in some way. So
I feel that
it really has there.
a lot of other countries in Europe and places like that, they're more acceptant to things, many different things, whether it be race, sexual stuff, and things like that. They're more. They don't need to have. It's like in their normal everyday life. It's like, okay, but you find it in the United States where you have to really like push to be accepted for certain things. You know, like there was a lot of fighting to get to where you are today with the whole Pride stuff. But you go
Started
to
with the riots.
you go to a place like England, and it's like, all right, mate, you know, no big deal.
Yeah, it's
like
you know,
nothing.
you don't have to talk about it because it's not an issue there. You know.
Exactly. And a lot of countries are like that. You can go across almost all of Europe. There's no issue. That's just what I noticed in my 60 years on the planet, is that you find more of that stuff just here, and we're supposed to be a more free and open and accepting society, but we're not.
We're a big melting pot.
Yeah. Well, I think the U.S. is supposed to be a beacon of light to the world, and you know, for some issues we are, but there's still a lot of things we're not.
Well, if we're going to be a beacon light to the world, we better get our crap together. Like,
Yeah.
Little light of mine.
Yeah.
So my wife Nicole, she's a teacher, and so I want to ask you:
should we get the political stuff out of
well,
the way?
first of all, what does Pride mean to you?
I, you know, it didn't even become a thing for me, I think, until I was 40. Like, I had friends and it didn't matter, and we just went places and had fun and enjoyed each other's company, and it didn't matter who was coupled with who or how or anything like that. And it wasn't something we really talked about. It was just something that it was just part of life. So I don't think it really even was on my radar until Pulse. And I just kept hearing people say the ugliest things. And I said, you know, nobody deserves to go and hang out with friends and have a good time and essentially be murdered. I mean, like, there was no place in my brain for that. And so now understanding what I know now, what I think I probably never realized, like, all of my life, it wasn't something we ever talked about. So having conversations with friends about orientation or pronouns or anything wasn't something we did. And I don't know if it was because we just didn't do it or because we were accepting of it and it didn't matter.
I think it's more the lines of that, just being accepting, and it just
But it's
didn't
like
matter.
we didn't talk
But
about it.
the nightclub shooting just made it on the forefront
And
for a
I
lot of
think
people.
we all kind of like thought about it. And I guess most of my life I was probably a closeted bisexual and didn't know. And, you know, like I always had this like people are beautiful and it didn't matter who, and you just cared about people and it didn't matter to me. And we'd been together for years. And he's like, I just think there's more to it than that. And I said, maybe you're right. Like, so I kind of embraced the other side of me. And I said, you know, we fought so hard to be accepted as women. Now we have to fight to be accepted for all these other things too. And it's like, you know what? Let's just keep fighting until everybody's accepted. That's all I care about at this point. It's like,
Yeah.
you'll be able to love whoever you want to love. At least you're being loved. Like there's enough
And
of that in
everybody
this
wants to
world in the
feel loved.
first
I mean,
place.
deep down, everybody wants to
I
feel
mean,
the
there's
love.
enough pain in the world that we don't need to add more to it. Maybe
Right.
that's kind of the end all, especially where we're living at the world now. It's kind of a little down and sad right now. Let's just
Yeah.
put it like that. No matter where you are in the world, it's impacting everyone. So why add something else that it's human beings are going to do? What's the point?
We
And-
need it to be more positive, just on an
Yeah.
outlook of say, you know, we're out there caring about everyone. Like there's a place of inclusion for everybody. And it doesn't matter, you know, color, orientation, whatever. It's like you belong here. You have a place at the table. And I think above all, that's really, you know, representation is important. Like I will say this to my kids in my classroom, and I'll say it to my own children, and I say it to everybody who will listen. I grew up and there was nobody like me. There was no superhero that I could dress up as because I was a big girl. And there just wasn't anything available for me to really look at as far as somebody that was like me. And so it made everything else harder. I think maybe that's why I wasn't outspoken about anything really, aside from the fact that it was just normal. Like it didn't matter. Like my boyfriend, my first boyfriend, his uncle was, you know, he was pride events and he was openly gay and he was incredibly wonderful. He was like, he was a beacon of light. You know, he was funny and he was charismatic and all of these things. So I remember him being like this joyous person to be around. There was never an ugly moment when he was around. So it was like, I didn't want anything like that to ever be associated with those memories. Those memories were important to me and to everybody who was enjoying family barbecues and jokes on a Friday night and all that. Like, I don't know.
It also makes me think of like Matthew Shepard too. Like I remember that as a kid, as a teen, and all I think of is, or whatever age, it all blends. When you get past a certain 40, it all blends. But you just think of it's like, what did that person do? I mean, there's nothing at the point that's all. I guess that's the gist. The only good thing, and I'm sorry I interrupted you, Nicole, but the only one thing I will say is about the kids. The kids in the next generation, they at least, despite everything, I swear they've got their stuff better together because of the previous generations of fighters like Michelle and others that went through that. Because even my cis friends or bi friends or whatever they are, gay, straight, whatever, the way they raise their kids. And again, I know more people in the goth community, so there's more kind of fluctuation and mixture within that community. Because of just the alternativeness of that in itself. But seeing their kids now as teenagers or grown adults, and they're like most cool kids, and it doesn't matter. They don't worry about it. Like even something as simple as us forgetting how we were raised. Like my niece asked me once, oh, are you bi? And I was like, well, I'm married. It's like, what's that matter? It's like, and then I thought about it. It's like, you're right. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But that's the old mentality some of us still have just because of how we grew. But they're kind of giving me hope. I'm sorry. I just took over. I
No,
apologize.
you're good. I mean, me growing up, it wasn't something that you talked about. I was raised strict Catholic. I mean, my mom tried to drown me in the tub with a Bible to my chest. So that's the world I came from. But kids nowadays, they love one another. They're not sitting there judging like us adults in our 30s and 40s that grew up in a different time. You know, it's more accepting with the younger generation. But the older generation, we have some battles that we have to deal with, most definitely.
I feel like sometimes the kids too that are going through the struggles don't always realize that there's people that are there to listen to them because they've also gone through the struggles, but because we don't talk about it the way, you know, they do. Like
They talk
it's
about it
very-
completely different. Yeah.
It's a very different, it's a very different attitude about everything. And I said, you know, like for me, my orientation is only part of who I am. And it's not, it's
not
part
what
of it, but
defines
it's
you.
not what defines me. And so when I go down the list of things that I am, you know, that's only part of it, but it's never the first, second, or even third thing on my list. You know, like
Yeah.
it's not the way I introduce myself. It doesn't matter.
It shouldn't yeah, you shouldn't have to do that, and it shouldn't matter.
I feel like if you get to know me long enough, you already have an idea. Like I don't hide it. I don't sugarcoat it. It's like if you've talked to me long enough or you sat at a party where I was people watching, you've already figured it out. Like, you know, it's just a non-issue. It's a non-conversation. And so for like my kids who will come in my room and say, my name is, my pronouns are, and I am. And I'm like, hold it, wait a second. Like, let's get the other, like at the root of things, that can't be your only thing. Like that's only part of what makes you a human. That's only part of what makes you this being standing in front of me. Like it's so much more important than that. And so I say to my kids, I'm like, I'm an ally for you for anything, as long as it's not going to hurt you. Yeah. I said, I'll, you know, listen, I'll, you know, wipe your tears, I'll do whatever, but we've got to get beyond that idea of this only being who you are. Because when you're 15, I mean, like most 13 or 14-year-olds, they kind of know where they fall, but then some of them really don't know, like they're not attuned with exactly where they fall.
And their hormones are all over whack. So mixing hormones with anything,
exactly. I'm like, you guys just be a 13-year-old. Just figure that out. And then once you figure that out, then all the other stuff, you're going to find out that your 20s and your 30s are just as confusing as being 13. It's just things ease up a little bit. Yeah. But overall, like I have probably 3 kids right now that wholeheartedly in my classroom knew or know where they stand on that spectrum.
I'm glad you're that type of teacher, because growing up, you know, I came out to my teacher first. Actually, it was my grandmother, my teacher, and I was scared to tell my grandmother. And my teacher literally, you know, I told her that I had feelings, and she's like, "That doesn't matter. You come to class, you get good grades. I love you, and no matter, you know, what kind of support you get at home, I'm going to be here to hear you out." You know,
yeah.
So it's good that, you know, we have teachers like yourself that, you know, give those students a place to feel free to share that with you.
I know you wanted to say something because they want to take books away that represent what we're talking about.
Well, I've never been a proponent of censorship in any way, shape, or form. Do I believe there's a place for them? Yes. Do I think an 8th grader should have the ability to read The Bluest Eye? Hell no. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I read the book, and I think I read the book when I was 23 or something, and I shouldn't have probably read it at 23. Like I wasn't in a mental mindset to deal with that kind of story. So at the end of everything, it's like, should they be put where they're appropriate? Yes. But can we just say altogether, this doesn't belong there because these things don't happen? Like, they do happen like every day. We have
Whether
kids
they
come
read it
and
in a
say-
book or see it on
social
YouTube,
media.
they're going to get access to it. You could take away all the books you want, but kids are still going to Google it. They're going to YouTube it. They're going to hear it from their friends. I mean,
And I'd rather have it be from
would you
an
rather than pick up a
author-
book or go, you know, to a drug house or something? Pick up a book.
Well, and I'd rather have it be from an author that's also lived it or studied it or had a friend that lived it.
Yeah.
You know, like that closeness of the content makes it more true and honest and valid when we're telling our kids the story of the world. And I'm sorry, but you know, should an 8th grader read The Bluest Eye? No. But should they be or have access to speak? Yes. I mean, like, I don't understand. You know,
We have
all
a
of the
board
books
member that
are-
sits on that book committee, and she's gone through the books. Her name is Carrie, and she does an awesome job. She's read the books and educates people on them and what, you know, what should be read and what shouldn't.
And I would much rather have my kids reading a book with a teacher than just reading it, you know, in their bedroom at 3 a.m. and
Not
not
making their own interpretation of it.
not having someone to talk about it, because
Oh, yeah.
there are themes that are difficult. And if you don't have an experience with anything outside of what you're generally used to, you can't wrap your brain around the things that are happening to these characters. And if you're talking about it with an adult or talking about it with someone who is open-minded and cares about your interpretation of it and says, well, you know, what did you think? How did you feel about that? How do you connect that with other things in your life? Then I'm much more comfortable with that than having my kid just read it and be completely blown away by something and think it's something totally different.
And on top of that, especially with Michelle, from your the person on your board who handles it, you want to be able not. And again, I don't want to speak for anyone who's more experienced, but not every experience for an LGBTQ plus IA. I'm sorry, I always I mess up on that. So, but it's not going to be the same. One experience for a Hispanic person or a Cuban American who's going through it will be different from a Black American versus a white American versus depending on your background, if you're religious, if you're not religious. There's so many different things. So, and that's just in Pride. That's not even just in general in anyone. So more stories, kind of, you might find the story that hits for what you're feeling, what you see in things. It's kind of why I'm going to use Marvel. I'm sorry, but they're going more in an inclusivity. And it's not about like, oh, you know, I know some people like, oh, they're just being woke. And I know that's the charm and but it's about trying to give these experiences for kids so that they can see someone like themselves. That's like why everyone loved Black Panther. It gave someone an experience, and that's going to be like that for a lot more movies. They're bringing it out because you want the kids for the next generation to have, oh, there's that person just like me.
Yeah.
Well, and
They're going to form their own opinions.
A lot of that is so important to just like, it's important to all of us. Like I grew up in a place that was relatively white. And then I went to college and I was like, wow, like you see only a stereotype. You see only what your experience is. And then, so you meet other people who are not within that stereotype. And then it blows your entire like mindset on the planet because you don't have a clue where all of that fits into your like understanding of the world around you. And so when you're looking at, you know, coming from a rather like suburban poor area and the only people of color you saw were people on welfare and people that got in trouble with the law, like you never saw the other side of that. And so you only had that stereotype. And so the experience is a mind-blowing effect when you see it anywhere else, because you're like, oh, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know that
We all live in our little boxes, you know, and don't see outside of that until, you know, something is put in front of us.
And the thing is we're a whole lot more similar than we are dissimilar.
Oh, yeah.
Like all of those things still happen to us. Like, you know, death and crime and all that happens
Student
to
loans.
all of us. Student loans. evictions because your rent is too high. Like all of these things happen to all of us, unless, of course, you're a doctor or a lawyer or something. And then you could even get in trouble for that. Like Walter White told us that teachers can get in trouble for cooking meth. And, we wonder why. Anyways, because we don't make enough money. But
Here you go.
honestly, like we all have the same kinds of issues. I think what makes us
John saying hi.
What makes us different is how we deal with them and the kind of support we have that rallies around us when we're dealing with it.
I love how Shelley brought up Marvel because I saw a shirt, and I think it's an official Marvel shirt, and it says Mutant Pride, and it's in rainbow colors. I was like, that's really cool.
Well, that's most of the things with the X-Men. A lot of, and we all have seen movies and whatever, but you can tell when a movie is doing, like, they're not saying what it is, but you know what it is. It's like, we all know, unless you're like, obviously just seeing, oh, I'm just seeing this. No.
Well, and X-Men, from the very onset of X-Men, was an allegory for the civil rights movement. So it didn't surprise me that it would also encompass all of that too. All of the orientation, all of the pride factors, like all of that was important too. But we kind of start seeing that with like characters like Valkyrie. And what was the other? I'm blanking on the name.
Is it for Doctor Strange? But she's relatively new. America Chavez, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's the child of. I knew who you were talking about because there was some controversy about.
But there's like that whole like it's not something that defines the character. Like they can be openly whatever, but they're still living their life. Like it's not the only thing that they're not there because they are. They're there because they fit into the story and they're just living their life.
And I was gonna say this since we have Anthony here to bring it into kind of the horror realm. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, for the longest time, was called the gayest horror movie ever made, and people like crapped on it. But then it, like over the years, gained a love. Mark Patton,
Big popularity with that.
Life,
it did.
I mean, they have a documentary about it, and I remember meeting Mark Patton. He's always like. He's very open on things, and hearing someone else's experience as he was gay, going through that, and kind of how it affected, but even just the funness of it. You see the documentary that's on, what is it? Is it My Screen Queen? It's My Screen Queen, My Experience, something like that.
It's a great documentary.
It is. It's awesome. And just seeing that was fun, and just seeing like how he is. But even his book that he wrote, Jesse's Secret Diary. Or Secret Journal, I'm sorry, interacted like a more of the pumped up that element with his relationship with Freddie and how that was intercutting. So it even made a sequel that kind of pumped it up, and it was actually, I would say, even a little bit smarter than the movie. I love the movie, but it kind of gave it more dimension, even though it was a short, small novel. So
I don't know why people would get so offended at something that's put into a movie, and this is entertainment. I just don't get it. I don't get it. See, there's a lot of things I wanted to create. It seems today that people are offended by everything. A needle and thread offends somebody somewhere. So when I see a lot of these things from films and this, that if you have a variety of different characters and personalities in a movie, it's actually going to help the movie. It makes it more entertaining.
Or you're going to bring a broader audience with that as well.
Exactly. It shouldn't be something that's mocked or trashed on. I wanted to create some different characters in the things that I do, but then I said to myself, because nobody really interacts anymore as far as like verbal interaction, where right now you can hear.
It's all.
Exactly. You can hear
my touch away.
Hear the tone of my voice. You know where I'm coming from. But if I were to say just with you and put something in print, that's open for so much interpretation. How he's going to perceive it, how you're going to perceive it. Everybody
Perspective. Yeah.
those words in a different way, and this is where we're getting all these people getting offended and fighting with each other because nobody communicates anymore. I just recently started doing on the Boogeyman Studio page. I just do these random town hall chats. I'll come on StreamYard and anybody could come on. A customer, a fan, whatever. Come in, talk. I want to hear what you have to say. If you have a suggestion, hey, I like the way you did that, but I don't know. I think it would look better if you did this or this and that. Okay, let's give it a shot. Things like
And
that.
that's across the board. Communication is dead. Like, I don't know if technology is the reason, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is that the face to face, like, because when we talk about like using pictures in the classroom, and when we talked about comic books, like it was very much a thing that they studied that kids are having a more difficult time understanding what facial expressions mean. And so when I ask my kids about this picture and what how does she feel? My kids can't answer that question because they don't understand what's happening to her eyebrows. Like, why do we have eyebrows? Why do we have, all of these things come into play when we're talking about how we feel about something, because it's written on our face before it's written in the words we say.
Yeah, some people can't hide their facial expressions whatsoever.
That's why I keep it. A lot of people say, well, what's your website and this and that? Well, you're actually on it right now, as far as if I'm on the page on Facebook and this and that. I have a website. I just never activated it because I thought about it. I said, well, it's going to be similar to like another company where you're just going to see photographs of masks and other products with prices. You click and you put it in a shopping cart. Okay. So this way, you actually are able to either call me on the phone, video chat with me, and have actual conversation and discuss how you would like to have your thing made. Well, I'd like it to look like, the scene when so-and-so was standing at the top of the steps, or when Michael was standing here and this and that. So, okay. And I pull up the photographs and I start painting and designing it in those tones and shades and shadows. This way, when you have the mask, that's what it's going to look like in the lighting. And as far as like a website, it takes that personal one-on-one thing away. It makes it very cold. It's just corporate, nothing. You don't get to you don't get to take part in anything. You just pay the bill and go on your way, and then wait for it to come to your house. This way, you can actually take part in I'll include you from start to finish in the whole process, and I'll send you before I post them on the page. I send people pictures in private messages that here's your thing. This is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and I see how they like it. So I like it, but I could it have a little more of the no problem. And I take care of it, and then I'll show them the updated pictures of it, and I think it's just better that way. I'm old-fashioned. It's like I'm like the old town general store for Halloween masks. That's what I would consider myself. Where you could come in and say, "How you doing, Bob? How's it going?"
But there's nothing wrong. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, because even when you send a text to someone, how they perceive whatever you sent, they could misunderstand it, take it the wrong way, and you offended them.
That's what they tell us in I work in corporate America, and that's like yeah. In corporate America, that's what they say. Yes, you can write emails, but they actually train you how to write them, so that way nothing can be almost misconstrued. And still, you will see some things done like that. It's just too hard. But between what you're putting out and what's up.
I'm actually in the process of reprogramming just about everyone that I know and that I'm in contact with. I've made a decision. It was not too long ago. I almost very rarely respond to Messenger, and I will absolutely not respond at all to any text message. You could text me from now till kingdom come. You will not get a reply. What you need to do is you need to dial that number. Hello. That's why it's called a phone. The other features on it to access the internet, and that's a bonus on the go if you want to look at something. It's modern, it's nice, it's convenient. But as far as the personal stuff, I'm not a secretary, I'm not a typist. I'm not going to spend 5 minutes typing a conversation that could take 10, and you could actually really understand what I'm saying and how I'm saying it and what I mean. That's it. There's no more text message. I had somebody standing outside my house, standing on my porch, that could have just opened my front door and, hey, they actually text my phone. I said, so you insane?
Hey, I'm at the front door.
We're less than 50 feet apart. Less than 50 feet away. Outside the door. There's just a door blocking us. And you sent me a text message? Now,
I would have
I
just
don't
banged
answer
on the
text
door.
messages anymore.
See, our kids can spell now. So the only way we can keep things secret from them is if we text back and forth to each other. So now that's our form. Like if it's got to be something secret, to be like, hey, so I think there's merit to it, but it can't be the only thing that we do.
Well, I'm sure growing up in
out
the
there and see
1960s and 70s, my parents, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% positive that they had quite a few secrets that the children weren't allowed to know. And somehow they managed to not let us know it without any technology involved at all. I don't know how they did it. Well, I know how they did it because I did the same with mine. But if we were in the room, well, they had the upper hand on us also, but not so much. They would start talking in Italian, thinking that we didn't understand. But yeah.
So you learned that. You picked it up. That you picked that up too.
Well, I grew up in an immigrant home. My grandparents were from the other side, so yeah, I kind of know what you're saying here now. You know what I mean? So it got to the point where they didn't even talk about certain things when we were around.
So I want to do something fun here. With it being Pride Month, I'll start with you, Michelle. What would you have on your Pride watch list? Movie or TV?
I'm not a big TV person, but I will watch the movies from time to time. And when I think about an all-time like gay favorite movie of mine, it's going to go back to like 1996. And it was like very controversial when it came out because Jennifer Tilly was like this.
Oh, I know what movie you're talking about.
Yeah, so it was a very popular movie before I give away the label. But Jennifer Tilly was one of the stars, and there's plenty of movies where there's famous actors, playing gay as well. But Jennifer Tilly in Bound was my number one watch.
So I got too excited.
If you haven't seen it, don't watch it with children in the room.
It's a good movie, though.
Yeah.
I would totally say, I'm sure everybody by now has seen it, but if you haven't, Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
Chasing Amy is another one.
It was one of my favorite movies, and I kind of know now why.
And then another one, I would say The Birdcage with Robin Williams.
Yeah, and once again, those are movies that have famous actors.
A lot of the new movies you're mentioning, I don't know about, but the one with Robin Williams, I was just going to mention it, and you beat me to it. I said, that's going to be extremely entertaining. I love that
Oh yeah.
I mean, Nathan Lane. I mean, Robin Williams is great, but Nathan Lane, I think,
He
stole
stole
that.
the show. He definitely
Yeah,
stole
for
the show
sure.
on that one.
What's worse, I
Yeah,
watched
yeah.
that before I watched the original, the French movie that was based on, because I was like, hey, I watched the remake. I always have to watch the original. And I liked it, but it's like, yeah, I probably would have. I liked it better because I know these people. Not even
Exactly.
like the language. It's just like it's Robin Williams and Nathan Lane. Those are people I've seen a billion times. No offense to this, it's just not quite the same. And it was a little hammier up and fun and all that. And I think that kind of also brings that little. It's an outdated message, but it still brought the mindset of families can come together, even with the conservative and whatever. It kind of sounds old fashioned, but that is usually what most people have. So.
No,
For
even
me, yeah, go, let's go, Boogeyman Studios. Sorry.
even in Mrs. Doubtfire, because his brother, the makeup artist, was gay, and to watch them interact as he's doing all the different stages of faith and all the great, it's hysterical to watch them how they got along, and you know it was fun. That's another movie that had things in it
And it's
that
so
I
funny
enjoyed. It was
because
really good.
a couple years later, that same guy was in Independence Day as
Yeah,
well.
Oh,
in
yeah.
Independence Day they have it also. Yeah, Independence Day. I forgot.
See, I'm always like, for me, everything falls in. It's not all horror. Let me rephrase. One is always it's Jennifer's Body. That's always like one that I'm glad it's gotten the cult has finally caught up to it. It's taken like not right at when it came on because it was all about the Megan Fox point and the way they marketed it, but it's a really good movie after you watch it. And
And
then
it has a message.
yeah, that's the other thing. It's like it just felt like it's more someone who probably kind of understood things a little more in that direction. I'm gonna admit this, and I'm sorry, it's not horror, but I'm a glam rock person, so Velvet Goldmine is my thing. And because it has kind of music, but it is kind of has hot Ewan McGregor too, but making out with another hot actor, how can I say no to that? And then but they were also it had that 70s vibe, you know how things were. And then and this may sound really depressing, but I read the book and I remember watching this on HBO and the band played on. It's about the AIDS epidemic, but it's really just a great program. You will still be sad at the end, but you could see, and I think some of those done in an entertaining way, but you could see the different parts. Now, that's just for me, of course. But and then anything on Shudder, I really love that Shudder now has a queer horror section. So even if you didn't know, you could go in and just pick one of those and they have curated content. So for me, I can always find something in my horror categories. Oh, All Cheerleaders Must Die. Sorry, that one's really fun and that has a good message. So
I do like that one too.
What's the one with the girl from American Pie and they send her to the
but I'm a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Sorry.
yeah,
That's not Taylor.
they send her
one of
to
my
like
favorites.
Yeah, but I'm a cheerleader.
yeah.
Sorry, I get too excited about movies. I apologize.
No, that's okay. We love movies.
You know,
here.
it was always funny. It was always funny, like because it was never like a non discussion. So like in my house, when you found out, like that the person had played a character that was straight all the time, and then you found out that they were gay, and I was like, what?
Like Neil Patrick Harris.
It's like your brain forgets what acting is. It's like for a second you forget that.
I was like, you mean like my chances are 0? I was like, I'm so sad. But then you see people with like their spouses and they're so happy. And I'm just like, oh, I want that for everybody. And so you kind of like don't realize like they have these entire lives outside of what they're putting on for us. Like I never had a clue.
I think one of the on the TV side of things, I did mention Neil Patrick Harris, but Matt Bomer from White Collar. He was also in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
And American Horror Story.
Oh, yes, he was really good at that. And Magic Mike XXL. The second one's better. The second Magic Mike's better, in my opinion. Hey, I probably
they have a third Magic Mike coming out, I think, next year on HBO Max.
It probably is. I'm a Tampa person.
It's called Magic Mike: The Last Dance, and I think it has to do with going to Vegas or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Tampa, so I'm always good. I realize now that I probably went to the same place he was working at for a bachelorette party. So I probably did see Channing Tatum stripping at that time, but I didn't realize it. But it's kind of weird because yeah.
I don't know that I actually have like a watch list. Most TV shows that portray any kind of life that people don't really understand, I feel like they go either way overboard or they trivialize things. And so it's like I don't want to watch anything that's fake. I want it to be as true to life as possible. So like I want people to be in real relationships where, you know, shit doesn't go as planned, because that's how real relationships are. It doesn't matter who's in the relationship. Love is messy.
Yeah,
and it hurts. And yeah. I mean, like, I don't want it to be some weird stereotype of what we think it might be, or something so over the top. Like, unless that's their personality. Like, I can totally get that.
You don't want it to be like Jeffrey, which I love the movie Jeffrey, but that whole movie, there's barely any kissing. It's supposed to be like a gay relationship, and you know they're supposed to, but they barely even, and there's this HIV element, and I love the movie. It's enjoyable, but you can tell it's of its time. The fact that there's not even like, I think one kiss happens at the end. And again, I get it from the time, and I love it still, but looking at it in modern time, it's like, that was like the Will and Grace at the time, you know, certain things, but we're like, did we camp it up just a little much just because we're like, oh, let's make it fun for the streets to feel comfortable. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's what was done.
My best friend's wedding, you know, stuff like that, where, and I know it happens. Like, we do become so comfortable with our best friends that we forget or just don't want to admit that next step to the intimacy of a relationship,
next level closeness,
can't happen. You know, like, because I'm a huge Supernatural fan. Like, been a Supernatural fan the entire duration of the show. And I never, like, to me, the love between Dean and Castiel was always that I love you. Like, I didn't feel it was like a sexual tie. I didn't feel any of that. I felt that it was very much an emotional understanding of two people. Like, love is bigger than just what you can love your sister, and you can love your friends, and you can love your fiance, and they're all different kinds of love. But to love somebody on a molecular level, like on the level of humanity, like, Cass didn't have a gender. Like, if you really think about,
he really doesn't even have a
angels,
gender.
He's loving him as a creation, as a human creation. It's the beauty of this person that's willing to do whatever it takes for the people that he cares about. And that entity, that soul, that thing that Dean has, is what he fell in love with. It's not a gender thing. And it's like, we get so hooked in on having a title for everything. It's like, why can't we just love?
Like, and not only that, we also, as a society, and this is, hey, we're all this guilty for the most part. Mm-hmm. We're focused on everything being gender and sexual. Yeah. Asexual people show love, but they're not into the sexual the same way like that, but that doesn't mean they don't. And I think that's part of the problem. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Sex is fun, we all agree with that, but maybe thinking about things not so much as very, I guess maybe for me it's just, I don't, as long as you're not hurting anyone, as long as you're happy,
Yeah.
I want you to be happy. And if what makes you happy is feeling open to speak however, that's fine, or feeling this way or acting out. And I think sometimes we get so stressed on checklists and boxes and who goes in what group and so on. And we all do it. It doesn't even matter. Like sometimes we get too much into politics and then we go on those sides. And sometimes this and that.
Yeah.
We all try. We all have moments. But it's about trying to remember we're a lot, like you said, like everyone said at the beginning, we're a lot more alike than we are different.
We are different.
But the few things when we get different, we bang our heads. But when we're with our groups of friends, all of us have friends that are like, believe something different than us, either if it's a faith, if it's politics, even if it's something completely else. But usually we all can come together middle way. There's something like balance. But unfortunately, when you want to see the news or not all the news, but you know, the ones that are going to hype things up, or like certain people that just, they instigate to get money or ratings or whatever. We all know how it is. Or even politicians, and that's across the board. Unfortunately, some of them are all over the place, but they're all doing it for different reasons. And again, some of us all feel like if we all came together and calm down, take away the BS, we probably could come a lot more together. But there's always a small percentage that wants to make things a lot harder for everyone else. And
agreed.
That's how it is in life.
On so many levels.
Human
It's
kindness.
just, you know, loving a person means that you love them at their very, like, the rawness of what being a human means. Like, we strip away all of the other stuff. It's the heart. Like you love that person because of the way they treat you, because of the way they make you feel, because of the way you experience life with them. And it doesn't always mean that it's a sexual way. It's that like very close ties to the person, that trust, that, you know, you truly believe that they'd lay down life and limb for you. And if you have that kind of love, I don't care where it comes from, because I think we're all searching for that. Like, we are all looking for somebody that's going to, you know, care about us the way,
accept us and love us and take care of
you
us.
know,
Yeah,
that we
most
want
definitely.
to be. And I think that that's why pride is so important, and that we embrace every person that doesn't fit in that nice little box.
Just embrace diversity and inclusion with everyone, you know, and just be happy. Be
Our
happy for
lives would be
people.
so boring if we were all the same.
I was going to say,
Interesting.
all the most fun I have are with the weirdest people that are completely different. I always had a friend. Yeah, the weirdest people are the ones I've either learned something, and sometimes they're not always the best people, or maybe not the best people long term. Maybe they're right for that time period in your life, like in your 20s. We all have a few of those, but you learn something. The person that was my first job at Orbeez may have been the weirdest job, but I met people who like punk music that were LGBTQ. There were people I hadn't met that I would know in high school because I hung out with drama people, but maybe not some of the burnouts or the people who like metal music or punk music. And then from there, oddly enough, those people were in the same circles as the goth community, and those people were in the same circles as the anime and all these different groups. And then they had a lot of the overlap. So yeah, we're all over.
I kind of lived in all of those groups a little bit. Like, I was just like on the fringes of all of that. Like, so I had friends in all of the different groups. Like, and so it didn't bother me. And I used to be like, oh, you know, I don't fit in anywhere. But
You were a band
in a
geek
way,
too, right?
in a way, by not fitting in anywhere, I kind of fit in everywhere. Even like that, like I didn't have the same circle of friends. I had all these other groups of friends that they were just different, and they were from a different place, and they had different attitudes, and they liked different things. And I just had an opportunity to see all kinds of life that I wouldn't have had if I'd just been in one group. And so while I used to complain about that, I see it as kind of more of a blessing now, because it gave me an opportunity to live kind of through people a little bit. Like, I'm not ever going to know what it's like to exist in that entity, but I can kind of see how it affects everybody, or how it plays out, and how we're all.
I kind of remember that too, back to high school when, you'd break for school lunch and you had all the different cliques and all the different corners, and I'd be the one bouncing around and just talking to everyone and getting along with everyone, because there was no reason to fight with no one. I mean, unless you were bullying one of my friends, I wouldn't get in your face. But that was just me. But literally, I would visit every group. There was this group, that group. I mean, I got along with them, all of them, and then some groups would be like, why are you hanging out with us? If you hang out with them, I'm like, because I like everybody,
See, like, and I'll bring up the music here. I grew up in a time where boy bands, were a really big thing. And I like music, pretty much all music. And I would listen to boy bands, and I would always get like people bullying me because I like that type of music. And they would always say, oh, he must be gay or whatever. It's the dumbest thing that people could say. But I'm going to ask, if people were to hop onto your Spotify playlist for the month of June, your Pride playlist, what would they find, Michelle?
Ooh, they'd find Lady Gaga, Madonna, Pink. I mean, if you want to go back to some classics, Respect, I Feel Like a Natural Woman, like just, I'm all over the place with music. And if you look at my Facebook page, I kind of like play music on the way to work. And I literally I play it's not like I listen to straight music or I listen to gay music, but I don't know. The gay music is kind of like more happy toned sometimes, but I listen to everything. So I can't really say I listen to just one genre, because I'll listen to rock one morning, I'll be listening to country the next morning, and listening to pop the next morning. So
one of my favorite bands, they're a pop band from the UK, and they're really huge in the gay community. They're called Steps. Which I'm wearing their t-shirt. And they're actually this year celebrating their 25th anniversary. And they're not like super popular here in the United States, but if you go to a gay club, you will hear their music. One of their big hits was 5, 6, 7, 8, which they did a line dance to. They actually just played a festival in the UK 2 days ago. Hoopla, I believe, is a big LGBTQ music festival that they put on, I want to say, in London, and they tore the house down there. So if you were to look at my Pride playlist, it would be like Westlife, Steps, probably the Village People, the Bee Gees.
You have a little bit of everything.
I have a little
on there.
bit, yeah.
But I think, like, as time changes, like you see people that are very open to the world around them. So like the more fantastic your persona can be, like Freddie Mercury, or the more outlandish your costuming could be, like Elton John. Or
I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. I'm 42 years old and I love Taylor Swift.
Or the more scathing and poetic your lyrics can be. Yep. Like Taylor Swift. Like, I think all of those people like have roots in Pride, because they're saying, you know what, this is the world I live in, and I'm not gonna censor myself to make you feel comfortable. And I think that has kind of been the outcry, I think, kind of like since 1969, was to say, you know what, I live in the shadows because it makes you uncomfortable. And because you're uncomfortable with it, you never really know who we are. You don't know what it is. Like, I remember in the 90s when Ryan White was going through the battle to go back to school. And at the height of the AIDS crisis, and at people just didn't get it, and they didn't want to hear. Like, they didn't want to get it because it was scary. And granted, it is scary, but you know, having this kid be ostracized, and it wasn't even his fault. Like, he had a blood transfusion because he was a hemophiliac.
But even outside that, it's no one's fault. That's the point.
And
Anyone
it's
gets
not,
sick.
like-
Anyone gets sick. It could be any reason. Same thing like those kids who
Well,
wanted to go to school. People.
But see, it made me really mad though, because like every time it was considered a gay disease, and I was like, I know more straight people that have it than gay people. And it's a sexually transmitted disease, but this is attitudes. Like, are you being frivolous with safety? If we know how it's transmissible, if we know those things, then we need to start doing things that make it safer to be part of these communities, because they tend to be the communities that are stricken the hardest with them. So let's do something instead of like vilifying. Let's do something that teaches us what to do, so that nobody,
Stereotyping.
you know, so that nobody gets sick. Like, I have a person close to me who is HIV positive, does not know how they got it, can probably, you know, think about where, but lives life every day knowing that it was choices that were made that, you know, got them to where they are. And because it's not my story to tell, I'm not going to tell who it is, but it is important for people to understand that it's a disease that doesn't discriminate. It's going to come after whoever isn't protecting themselves or being reasonable or asking
I
questions.
lost my brother AIDS.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm sorry to hear that.
AIDS about 16 years ago.
I just
And
think
he
that we
wasn't
need
gay.
to talk
So I don't
about
know why they,
who and how. Like, all
Yeah,
of
I
these
know.
people, this is faces of the world we live in. We need to take care of people.
That's what killed Rock Hudson as well, right?
I'm
Probably
so sorry for your brother
other people,
too, and
too.
for you. I know it's been years, but it doesn't matter when you lose people. So I want to say that. Sorry.
Yep.
It's just
he took him the last day of his life in the hospital. I walked him to the bathroom, and he collapsed at my feet, and he had a blank stare on his face, and he was gone right there. Yep. It's something.
Yeah.
But to label that illness to gay, this and that, because he wasn't, but he made other choices in his life at a very young age. He made a lot of mistakes. And when he turned his life around, unfortunately, the damage had already been done. And going back into the late 80s through the early 90s, they really didn't have such great treatment for it then. If he would have had it now, he would have lived probably
Longer.
with no
Yeah.
problem.
Productive life.
Yeah.
But it took him out. Yeah, it took him out.
It's
It's
just so
actually-
frustrating.
Yeah,
It's like we stereotype so much to pigeonhole people and to send them to places like of separateness.
To me, to stereotype someone is to judge them.
Yeah.
No shape and way or form do I have a right to judge anyone.
It's amazing how, because I lost quite a few friends to that illness. And it's amazing how so many other people right away rushed to judgment, condemned, and labeled, and it really was it was amazing to see. And not all of it was from transmitted activities or anything like that. It was just other stupid choices that other people made, and it happened. And once they got it, it's like everybody just sent them off to a leper colony, And it was a crazy thing to see. I mean, when I was in the hospital with him, because I knew he was going, and I drove from Florida there, and I told my sister, I says, "Better call your brother on the phone. I'm going over because this is it. This is it. From what I'm hearing, this is it." And sure enough, I got there. I stayed with him all night, and the very next day, he was gone. You just know. But the way they isolated him in the hospital, the doctors basically just wrote him off because that was it. And other people that don't know they don't know all the facts on how he got it, but right away they're so fast to point the finger and pass judgment
You assume.
and label things and actually the assumptions. It's like an old from Felix Unger. When you assume, you make an S out of you and me.
Everyone uses that one. It's true.
But you think about the 90s, when the movie Philadelphia came out, that opened a lot of people's eyes on how everybody was treated during that time.
And then they use Tom Hanks. Everyone loves Tom Hanks, so you put them in, and they can relate to Tom Hanks at the end of the day.
I mean, and you had Denzel Washington's character, who at first was hesitant to
take the
case, but then he had a change of heart, which shows the human side of people. A lot of and that film's beloved by a lot of people. So that is a film that, even though it is a sad film, I highly recommend people to watch that film. Just to the story, what they can learn from it.
Well, when we talk about that, we talk about Chris Evans' smaller independent film called Puncture.
Yeah,
and
which is a true story. Chris Evans plays a lawyer.
The fight for the nurses to have the flip things on the needles so they wouldn't get stuck. And the one nurse that he was representing was her basically dying wish to put these in every hospital and every doctor's office so that no one had a bloodborne pathogen disease like HIV and hepatitis and all these other basically life-threatening diseases as well. It wasn't just for AIDS, but I mean, we really have to kind of think about, if we're not talking about it, we're not teaching people, we're not putting it out there, then nobody realizes there's still a need.
Education.
Yeah.
And that's why I was just going to say, that's why the month of June with the Pride events across the world is so important for people to go to these parades, go to these events, because it is a celebration, but there's also a lot to be learned from them.
We have, power in numbers with anything. And every year we get stronger with our voices and people that join the fight and become allies and help us, create this movement to where there is equality and exclusion for everyone. So it's important.
And the parades that these Pride events put on are fabulous. I
mean, in the truest sense of the word, both, the stereotypical way and the truest sense of the word.
And I've only seen them through videos on YouTube and stuff. Never actually physically seen them. But from what I gather, it's like Mardi Gras meets a Disney parade. I guess is that the best way to describe it?
It's just a good time.
From my standpoint and the kind of work that I do with special effects and all that stuff like that, I enjoy it because I love seeing all the really costumes and all the work and detail that goes into stuff. I think it's fantastic to see.
So much bling.
Oh,
It really is. It really is something. The talent. I mean, the costumes and
I didn't get that part.
very theatrical. I love it.
when
Wearing
I go to
black, no
St.
bling.
Pete, when I go to St. Pete Pride, that place is like, oh my God. I was like, there's too much going on at once. And
You start looking and it's like overstimulation because there's
yeah,
so much to look at, so many colors. The music's
and
drawing you. This person's drawing you. So yeah,
my
good time.
company, before it got bought out, they would always have a big event sponsored over there. And then like, it wouldn't be just that. It would be like, people bring their kids and have fun, and like every time, and it was always bigger and bigger and more fun. Or even where I live now, Pasco, they're just relatively new with their Pasco Pride, but they try and do some stuff and just like little fun things to bring the community together. And hey, it doesn't matter who you are, you can have fun. Just don't be an asshole when you go to any of these. Use your life, use your brain.
And that's
do
why
like
Pride in the Park is a
Yes.
friendly family event. We tell people, bring your kids, bring your relatives, bring whoever you want to bring. You
Yeah.
know, everybody is able and capable to come out and have fun and be a part of a bigger movement and just see what's going on. And most of all, we're there just to have fun and just show love, you know,
Yeah.
and respect.
Didn't you guys just have an event about a week or so ago at the Greenwise Publix?
Yeah, so we had our social hour at the Public Greenwise. Publix opened their doors, opened their patios, and they literally just let us have the social there. And it was a great turnout. It was one of the bigger events that we've had so far this year, because we're starting to do more socials every month. We have one scheduled every month throughout the year. And Publix shopping was a pleasure that day.
And then the Greenwise, they does your Greenwise have like the tap and the bar at like the bar at tap area? So you
Which
have
I just learned that. I mean, I've been going to that Greenwise for a while, and then I found out there was like the front section of the bar that actually served cider and craft beer, and I was like, what? It's like, it is a pleasure in here to shop. Now I'm just going to visit that counter, and then I'm going to go down the vegetable aisle. So
Yeah, they have like would you call it like a food truck out in front there?
well, they have a big food truck. I've never seen the food truck in operation, probably because of my work hours, but to see that they had like a whole sitting area where you could sit there and like before you start shopping, because it's the worst thing to do is go shopping when you're hungry. I'm like one of those people.
Yep.
And you're
That's
like,
us.
okay, I'm going to the store and to spend $100. All of a sudden you go hungry and the bill's like $200. And you're like, I could have just went to the restaurant and had this and like not even worried about all this cleanup I got to do now and stuff at home. But literally it was like, yeah, you could sit there, have a drink, relax, and then shop at your pleasure.
Yeah, because take the kids to the store. I'm like, can I just go by myself?
Now you're like, I'm going to the Greenwise on South Florida.
And I'm just gonna go and have a drink maybe while I shop. Because I don't like I have generalized anxiety disorder too. So like all of those social situations, if it becomes too stimulating, I don't know what to do with myself.
I've been helping you.
And
though.
so like it's funny because I realize this about myself and I can deal with it now. But like shopping with the children, I don't know if it's me over the edge. I'm like, I need a drink. Where's the bottle of wine?
As I'm gonna have to run, I want to thank you for having me here. I have a sick dog here.
Oh yeah.
He's just about 13 years old. I rescued him 5 months ago. His owner passed away, and the next of kin just threw him in the Humane Society. He's a tiny little thing, and I told the girl, I said, this dog is not going to last in here. You got to get him out. He can't. He's terrified. Look at him. He's at home, but
poor baby.
Something happened to him overnight from last night. I don't know if he's got a little. With his age, I don't know if he has a bug or if my dog is actually dying right now from the way he's acting.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us, Anthony. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook. I spelled. See if I can get you the link. I'll throw it up in the comments. Let me go over to the Book of Aces.
Is it just Boogeyman Studios?
Yeah, I spell it differently though. There's no in Boogeyman. Let me see. It's Boogeyman. Let's
All right.
see. Oh, I
We'll
don't have
put
the
it in the
ability to put it in
comments.
the comments. Yeah,
Yeah.
Boogeyman Studios. I'm on Facebook. You can see some of the lives I've done there, some photographs, and some of my crazy cockamamie chicanery things that I do.
Well, we look forward to hanging out with you at Phantasm, and you take care of that dog of yours.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I gotta pay attention. That's why I kept on looking over, because I'm watching him, the way he's breathing and everything, and
Well, take
something's
care of your
not right.
baby. Take
So,
care of your baby. We love you. And we love our
Yeah.
babies as well. So take care of them.
Thank you
all
for
right, I
joining
appreciate it.
us.
Thank you for having me. I'll talk again.
All right,
See
take
ya.
care. All right, so as we wrap things up here, I'm going to start with you, Shelly. If there is someone out there that may be afraid to, I guess, come out or whatever, do you have some like words of wisdom that you want to give to that person?
Wow. I don't know if I should be the one to give the words of wisdom, but what I would say, just as a person who's gone through their own like journey of figuring out what they are, if you're younger, I know it seems like things are the worst of the worst, but you'll get through it. I know it feels like, and I say younger mostly because that's when it's harder. You get more thick skin the older you get. You kind of be able to develop yourself. But when you're younger, just know you'll be able to get through it, and you aren't really alone. Trust me, you are lucky in the fact that you grew up no matter what with social media, you grew up in this age. You can find someone in your town on the other side of the world to talk to, and they will listen to you. So even if you can't find someone where you're at, talk to someone. We all love you. So I get too emotional. I get a little too empathic, but that's what I would say from a person who's not going through the same experience like Michelle. That's what I would say. You have places. There is always, and keep trying to find someone that you can feel comfortable at. Do it at your own rate. There is someone there, so don't ever give up. So that's all I'll say.
Same question to you, Michelle.
All right. So that question would be more like, I know your story. I know how hard it is to come up and come out. I've lived in a community where it's 50 churches within a couple mile square radius, and you couldn't talk about it. Like I couldn't do business, and I had to hide myself and tell people other stories that weren't even true, just because I wanted to do business in that town. And I've been there. I've been trying to. Somebody tried to drown me with the Bible. I've had my mom try to beat the crap out of me. So I know the hard coming out stories. So I'm able to relate. And if you feel lonely, find me on Facebook. Reach out to me on Polk Pride. We have a whole committee of members that love is love, and we just want everybody to feel included and no one to feel left out. So there is a place in the world for you, because there's so many people that literally commit suicides because they don't have or feel or have that outlet to feel loved or feel comfortable with someone and to talk to someone. And Polk Pride is there for you. Reach out to us.
Oh man. And
Now
once
you know how
again,
it feels like to come after her when she gives her spiel. You're like, damn, I don't know what to say after that.
and so where can people find Polk Pride on social media?
Go to Facebook, pull up Polk Pride, and you'll find us. And you could email us at polkpridefl@gmail.com. You could find me also on Facebook under Michelle Valdez. Look for the bald head, and I'll be there.
And I want to thank you for coming on. And Polk Pride, starting next weekend, is your whole month of
the
fun
11th
stuff.
we kick it off.
Swan Brewing.
Yep, Swan Brewing, Pride on tap, most definitely.
All right. And any final words you want to say?
I guess like the whole I guess when we talk about anything that has to do with basic human rights, it's if you're not at the polls and you're not voting for people who believe in your cause, then you don't have room to talk. So you need to be educated. You need to be knowledgeable. If you don't agree with Don't Say Gay, you need to know what it entails.
And a lot of people
Really?
have just looked at the media tagline of that and just put you in a box. And really, there's more to that bill that meets the eye, and people just need to do their research.
A lot more. And it's not gauged to like my kids in middle school who are going to be like, I don't know what, you know, like I'm conflicted to begin with because I'm a teenager, but they need to have that person. Shut up.
We have the Youth Alliance that meets every third Wednesday at Beacon Hill Church here in Lakeland, and it's an outlet for the youth to get together and discuss how they feel, what they feel, and what, you know, what's going on.
So, you know, we need to put in the hands of our not just our kids, but to everybody. I mean, like, we need to be knowledgeable of the things that are happening in law and government, and be knowing. Like, we have to know what's happening, and we have to vote people in that feel the same as us. Shut up.
Yeah.
As she was saying the delicateness of her children, I don't think you mean these kids, right? I'm kidding.
But
my students, but I can tell them to shut up too, because they're like, man. Because I'm like, I love you, but shut up.
Oh, I remember giving my teachers such a hard time. I feel sorry for them.
But we did enjoy this episode with you guys. And Michelle, will you be there next weekend?
I'm sorry?
Will you be at the thing next weekend?
I will be Pride at Tap at Swan Brewing. Come see me.
All right, we'll come out
I
and see
have
you.
to ask, is this mostly all in Lakeland, or is it different places around?
Yeah, Polk Pride takes place in Polk County. We're the main organization here in Polk County for Polk Pride too, for equality,
Okay.
diversity,
I just didn't
and
know if it's
inclusion.
more like, I didn't know where in like you mentioned Lakeland, so I didn't know if it was primarily there or different places.
Where our socials monthly, range anywhere in Polk County. Usually businesses reach out to us and say, hey, you want to have your monthly social? We're welcoming you. We're opening our doors. Bring your peeps. Have a good time.
That's awesome.
Sorry,
awesome.
I kept on asking my questions.
Yeah. Hey, but if you're asking the questions, then you're getting them answered for somebody, because we're not thinking about it. Because like if you're already like conscious of the website, and you're conscious of the Facebook page, and you're part of it, then you already know what's going on. So you're not even thinking about, like.
I just think of people outside of Polk County who might want to go there. Maybe I hate to put it this way, but maybe they want to try a bunch of different Pride events for the month. Maybe they're coming from
Orlando,
St. Pete,
Tampa, St. Pete, all the way around us is having Pride events all the whole month of June.
Hit up different events, have fun, make the best month of your life.
Most definitely.
Other than Halloween, but it's right up there.
And I guess since you're gonna have fun, a lot of drinking too, right?
Moderation is the key to the game.
Well, until the next episode, it's time to ring that bell.